I'm Doug Holdreed, and this PowerPoint presentation is designed to accompany Exploring Art, a Global Thematic Approach, Chapter 7, Food and Shelter. Food is an essential element of life, and of course people need shelters to protect them from extreme weather, as well as from other humans and animals that are a danger to them. In this chapter, we'll look at some of the relationships between art and ritual and magic. We'll also look at the different ways in which art has been used to secure a food supply, to store food and serve it, art that glorifies food, and art that depicts the act of eating the food itself. The cave paintings at Lascaux in France are an example of art that was used for what we call sympathetic magic. The images of the animals did not just symbolically represent those animals, but were believed to capture the spirit of the animal, ensuring success in the hunt. And this piece, from the Aboriginal people of Australia, is understood by them to be a contour map indicating the location of their precious food supply. Some works of art are storage containers, dishes that were used to serve food, or utensils. Like this cast iron, or rather cast bronze piece from the Qing dynasty of China. The basket that you see here is of course a very different material and had a very different use from the cast bronze piece that we just looked at. This is a hydria. It's a particular form of Greek pottery that was used for storing water. The surface of this pot is painted with a depiction of Greek women gathering their daily water supply at the fountain of the polis or Greek city-state where they lived. This was one of the few opportunities that most Greek women actually had to get outside of the house and interact socially with other women. This salt cellar was designed to contain salt, which throughout much of history has been regarded as a very valuable and special spice. Salt is the word upon which the word salary is based. In this case, the salt cellar was designed by Europeans, specifically Portuguese, and then created by this African group in Sierra Leone in the 16th century, and then exported back to Europe for sale and for use there. This piece, titled The Harvest by Peter Bruegel, is a bit unusual because it includes ordinary people working in the fields to grow the grain from which their food is made. Back during the time of Peter Bruegel, usually the only people that were included in paintings were either saints and people from the Bible, or kings and queens and nobles. Some works of art glorify food. They're depictions of those elements of our life that really sustain us. Food is beautiful, or at least it can be, and some works of art really use food itself for aesthetic purposes, to paint beautiful images of food. This still life is an example of that. It's very rich in detail and color and texture, very carefully designed so that the food itself is beautiful and we enjoy it for its aesthetic qualities. This next image is a photograph from 1930 titled Artichoke Halved. It's a good example of how something as ordinary and as natural as a slice of an artichoke can be an abstract image. The design elements are very important here. And in this piece by the artist Wayne Thiebaud, we have also design, shape, the repetition of forms and colors as being very important elements, but once again, the subject is food itself. Of course, food nourishes our bodies and keeps us alive, but some foods are ritual, have a ritual dimension to them, and are involved with religious ceremonies, as well as formal holidays. A good example of food as ritual is the significance of the bread and wine in the Christian tradition, having its roots in the Last Supper. Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper that we see here is very formally and geometrically designed, and that gives us a sense of the sacredness. This piece by the illustrator Norman Rockwell is an example of a ritual meal that most of us participate in, Thanksgiving. And this particular artist, Norman Rockwell, really was not regarded as a fine artist during the time that he lived because of the commercial use of his work. Art and shelter. That's another one of those really basic human needs. We all need shelter. It gives us a sense of security. That's where we feel safe, is in our homes. And so the design of our homes is another form of art. These buildings are part of a village of the Dogon people in Mali, Africa, and they date back to the 12th or the 13th century. And people still live in them. They cling to the sides of cliffs, and they extend for 125 miles. And as families grow and as more space is needed, these houses are added onto in this characteristic design. The Habitat project by Moshe Safdie that you see here is another example of art that sort of grows along with the needs of the people who live in these houses. This is the interior of a Roman villa at the city of Pompeii, the Roman resort that was buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in the year CE 79. This is an interior courtyard of that home, and you can see here a pool that was used for collecting rainwater. This is Boba Batak House from Sumatra in Indonesia. This structure is full of symbolic meaning. The house itself is likened to a human body, with stilts representing legs, the roof being the head, and the trapdoor entrance as the navel. And on a cosmic level, it also represents the upper, lower, and middle worlds of the Indonesian universe. Chapter also covers commercial structures. This is one from the ancient world. It's the markets of Trajan, an indoor market that was used in Rome. In more modern times, we have buildings like the Carson Peary Scott building in Chicago, which was built in 1904 and was one of the early skyscrapers when we learned how to go vertical with our construction. The Bank of China that you see here by I.M. Pai is another example of a very creative, very artistic commercial building.